Hey guys, Adrian here. If you're like me, when you turned 18, you were super excited to get your first credit card. Or maybe you were really intimidated by all those horror stories you used to hear about people that got into serious debt and decided to avoid them altogether. Well, today, I'm going to give you my beginner's guide to credit cards so you can not only avoid getting into serious debt, but also benefit and profit from the credit cards that you carry. Hey guys, if you end up liking this video, just drop a like down below. It'll really help me out with the YouTube algorithm. We'll start with how credit cards make their money. There's three ways that they make their money: merchant fees, annual fees, and interest fees. Now let's go over merchant fees. Every time someone makes a purchase with their credit card takes a percentage of that purchase as their fee. Now this fee isn't charged to you, the consumer, it's charged to the merchant that you actually made the purchase at instead. These merchants will be places like Amazon, Best Buy, Starbucks, McDonald's, basically anywhere that accepts a credit card. This fee varies depending on the credit card company and can often be a deciding factor on whether or not that merchant will accept that credit card. This fee can range between 2 and 3%. And up until a few years ago, American Express was known for having fees ranging between 4 and 5%, resulting in Visa and MasterCard being much more widely accepted. But now they've adjusted their merchant fees, and now you're seeing them accepted much more widely than before. Now, you may be asking, why would merchants want to pay 2 to 3% for every item they've sold to the credit card company? Well, a few years ago, I used to work in a grocery store. We used to get a bunch of customers that would come in wanting to buy $100 to $200 worth of stuff, and then they bring out their credit card to pay. Unfortunately, we only accepted cash or debit. In some cases, the customers took out a cash or a debit card to pay, but in most cases, the customers left without buying anything. Now let's say their profit would have been 30% on what would have been sold. On $1,000, that's $300 in profit. 2 to 3% would be $20 to $30. So they would have made $270 to $280 profit on that purchase. But because they didn't accept credit cards, they not only lost the sale, but that customer will probably no longer shop there. This will cause them to lose a potential repeat customer. The second way that credit cards make money is by charging an annual fee. Now, most of the entry-level credit cards don't charge an annual fee, but there are some that do. Why would you want to pay an annual fee? Well, remember earlier how I said that you can profit from having a credit card? Well, that's because credit cards have something called a rewards program. Usually the higher the rewards or the benefits, the more likely there is to be an annual fee. These range from various things such as cashback, travel points, or points that you can redeem for merchandise. There are cards with fees as low as $0 and as high as a few thousand. You need to be careful when deciding to get a credit card with an annual fee and weigh out the benefits against the costs. A credit card may offer up to 3% cash back. Here, the keyword is up to. I have the Costco MasterCard, and when I signed up, it said that I would get up to 3% cash back for shopping at Costco. At the time, I didn't realize that it was only 1% for shopping at Costco from the credit card and 2% for my executive membership. Now, this card gives me 3% cash back on restaurant purchases, 2% on gas, and 1% on everything else. So overall, it's not a bad card. But when you apply for a card, you need to think about what you're going to use it for ahead of time and only get it for purchases you already intend to make. This way, it's like you're getting rewarded for all the purchases you were already going to make in the first place. Now, the gas was okay, but the 3% on restaurants actually had me eating out more often than I normally would. This is how you start accumulating debt, so avoid falling into this. If it's rewards you want, then before you actually apply for any credit cards, I suggest you track your spending for a month or two so that you can see where you're spending your money. I use the Mint app. It's made by the company that makes TurboTax. You can download it from the App Store for free. There's other apps out there. I just haven't personally used them. You could also just track it with a spreadsheet. Tracking your spending will have two main benefits. One, it'll help you determine which categories you normally spend your money in. Whether it's gas, dining out, or spending at a certain store such as Amazon, Lowe's, Home Hardware, there's usually a credit card that meets most spending habits. With this concrete data, you can determine which credit card you would benefit most from your normal spending habits. The last way credit cards make their money is based on interest. They will charge you interest on any unpaid balance on your credit card. This interest is often referred to as APR, or annual percentage rate. Interest rates typically range from 18 to 27%. You can get lower rates, often through a promotion or by paying an annual fee. This 18 to 27% is the yearly rate, but credit card companies charge daily rate, so don't get confused by this. The daily rate on 18% would be about 0.049%. Works out to about 50 cents per day or $15 per month on $1,000. You can get a lower interest rate either by having really good credit or by paying one of those annual fees that we talked about earlier. You should only use this option to get a low interest rate if you already have credit card debt that is at a high interest rate and you're having trouble paying it off. In this case, you'll want to look for a credit card that has a sign-up bonus that gives you a low interest rate on balance transfers. These promotions will usually give you an interest rate between 2 and 6% for a period of time, usually about 3 to 9 months. They will charge you a percentage fee for the transfer, but this will help you to get out from under that debt. Just make sure that you pay more than the minimum and try to pay as much as you can afford, especially within that promotional period, so you can try and get out from under that debt. Now, I'm going to tell you how to never pay any interest on any credit card. It's really simple. Just don't spend anything on your credit card. Just joking. If you do this, credit card companies will close out your credit card if you don't ever use it. The reason for this is that credit cards only have a certain amount of credit available to give out. So if you don't utilize this for an extended period of time, when it's time to renew the credit card, they'll opt to not renew it and give it to somebody else that will use it. The real way to never pay any interest is to pay your credit card completely immediately as you use it. If you're going out to make a purchase for $40, have that $40 ready and just pay it immediately. This is also a great habit to get into because it means that any purchase that you make on your credit card, you'll only make it if you have the cash to actually pay it off. If you don't pay it off immediately as you make the purchases, there's another way to not pay any interest. Credit cards give you a grace period after your purchases in order to pay your bill. This is usually 21 days, but it can be different depending on your province or state. This grace period is the time between your statement date and the date the payment is due. When you get your monthly statement, you'll see an amount for your minimum payment. You'll also see a larger number, which is your statement amount. This is the amount that you have to pay before your statement due date in order to not pay any interest. An important thing to note is, let's say you pay your minimum amount and then 2 days later you pay off the remaining amount for your statement balance. During those 2 days, you don't only pay 2 days worth of interest. You actually pay retroactively for that entire month. So it's important to keep this in mind when paying your bill. Let's talk about credit scores. A credit score is what a credit card company or another lender will use to determine how likely you are to repay a loan. A credit score of 300 to 559 is considered poor credit. 560 to 660 is considered fair credit. 660 to 724 is considered good credit. This is the minimum you want to get to. 725 to 759 is considered very good credit. 760 and above is considered excellent credit. Anything above 800 is generally seen as a perfect credit score. Just because you're new to credit will not mean that you're going to start at a 300 credit score. What this means is basically you haven't had credit long enough to have a credit history. You need a minimum of 6 months of credit history before you can actually get a credit score. Your credit score in Canada is calculated by one of 2 credit bureaus. They are Equifax and TransUnion. In the States, they use these 2 credit bureaus as well as a third one known as Experian. If you want to view your credit score, you could request it from one of these bureaus, but they will charge you a fee for this. It's also important to know that each of these credit bureaus calculate your credit score differently. For this reason, it's a great idea to monitor your credit scores, and you can do that for free using either the Borrowell or Credit Karma app. Borrowell uses the Equifax credit score, while Credit Karma uses the TransUnion credit score. Your credit score is based on the following 5 criteria: payment history, utilization ratio, length of credit, types of credit, and inquiries. The most important factor for determining your credit score is your payment history. This accounts for 35% of your credit score. Payment history makes up the biggest portion of how your credit score is calculated. This is worth 35% of your credit score. Although the payment history will only increase your credit score on payments on your credit cards or other loans, it can still be negatively impacted by late payments on your internet bill, cell phone, and utilities. These late payments can stay on your credit profile for up to 6 years, and a single late payment can cause your credit score to go down by up to 90 points. That's enough to knock you down from a very good credit score down to a fair credit score. The next biggest factor is utilization ratio. This is the ratio of the amount of credit you actually use compared to how much you have available. If you have $1,000 of available credit, but you use up that full 1,000, this will negatively impact your credit score. But if you have $10,000 of available credit, but only use 1,000, this is only a 10% utilization ratio, which shows that you have a low utilization of your available credit, which shows to the credit card companies that you're able to manage your debt effectively and stay below a certain utilization ratio. They typically want you to stay below 30% of your available credit, but the lower your utilization ratio, the better the impact it will be on your credit score. Credit card companies will often reach out and give an increased credit limit to their customers. A lot of people will end up rejecting this because they feel like that's just more money available for them to spend and they're trying to reduce their debt. But as long as you stick to the rule of making purchases that you normally would have made even without the credit card and pay off that credit card immediately, you shouldn't run into any issues having an increased amount of credit, and it'll also help your credit score to go up. Then we have length of credit. The longer you've had a form of credit open, the better they can determine how well you've been managing your credit debt. Remember that payment history is kept up to 6 years. So the longer you've had a credit card open making consistent payments on time, the better it looks to a lender, which means that your credit score will go up. This is worth 15% of your credit score. The fourth is types of credit. Lenders like to see that you have a good mix of different types of credit, and not all the credit available to you is just credit cards. So this includes loans like a car loan, student loan, mortgage, lines of credit. Having a good mix of these and managing them effectively looks good to a lender. This doesn't mean that you should just go out and get a whole bunch of loans just so that your credit score can go up. If it's not beneficial to you in any way, there's no reason why you should go out and get one of these loans. The last thing that affects your credit score is inquiries. Whenever there's a check done on your credit score, this is referred to as an inquiry. There are hard checks and also soft checks. When you apply for a new credit card, loan, mortgage, rent, or a new job, all these applications involve a hard credit check. This can negatively impact your credit score. If it's only once, it's usually about only 2 points, which doesn't impact you too much. It'll go back up within a couple of months. But if you do too many of these credit checks within a week or two of each other, it can negatively impact your credit score. When lenders see this, they see this as you being desperate at trying to find money, and this will negatively impact your credit score. This is why when monitoring your credit score, I suggest apps like Credit Karma and Borrowwell, because they do soft credit checks and these do not negatively impact your credit score in any way. Another benefit of using credit cards is buyer protection. Many credit cards will insure the items that you purchase for about 90 days or so. What this means is that if your item is damaged, lost, or stolen, they will usually cover this up to a certain amount. They usually have a maximum amount for this, so make sure you check your credit card agreement to confirm the amount. They also have traveler's insurance for trips purchased using your credit card. So if you have unexpected medical expenses during your trip or other things that would normally be covered under a traveler's insurance, they will cover you in that case. Some of them will also insure your flight tickets. So if there's a delay of like 4 hours or more, they'll usually give you some sort of compensation to rent a room for the night or to get some kind of food or something like that. In addition to this, they also offer insurance on car rentals. When you go out and you rent a car, they'll often ask you to purchase the car insurance on top of that for the rental. As long as you rented the car using your credit card, many credit cards will actually cover this insurance, so you have no need to add any additional costs to your trip. Hopefully this answered all the questions you had about credit cards. If you ended up liking this video, drop a like down below and consider subscribing. If you feel that there was anything I missed, drop a comment down below.